taxes here. Obviously, we are very thankful and appreciate the business the surrounding regions bring to Steinbach. We've become a booming center as a result. I think anyone that drives into Steinbach would have a tough time believing that Steinbach only has a population of around 15,000 when they see the business and traffic our city has. But with that perception also comes the perception that Steinbach has more resources at its disposal than it does. Although we serve a region of 30 to 60,000, depending on who you ask, our tax base is dramatically smaller than that. And although the city benefits through additional property taxes when new businesses come, those property taxes are used to cover the infrastructure costs of new properties. Growth costs money. The challenge comes front and center when discussing recreation for our community. For example, the majority of the users of the aquatic center do not live in Steinbach, but Steinbach residents are the ones covering the significant operating deficit of the facility. Further, when we discuss the Performing Arts Center, there's tremendous support for this facility from people who don't live in our community, as a Performing Arts Center stakeholders meeting in July indicated. In theory, it sounds great that people in the surrounding region would use a Performing Arts Center in Steinbach, but at the same time, it will be Steinbach residents who cover the operating losses on the facility. As a council, it is important we keep proper perspective when making decisions for our community. Even though we are a regional center, we need to make decisions that do right by Steinbach taxpayers. And the question remains, is there a way we can promote further regional cooperation and begin to partner with our surrounding RMs on regional facilities? This would make provincial and federal grant monies more readily available and benefit taxpayers in the region as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penner. We have the agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Fair. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the minutes of September 6th in front of us. On page 1, you all had a chance to review those. Just a one note, Councillor Penner, on page 2 on 10.1, it says that you did leave council, but you didn't specifically say why you left council, so you'll have
Perceived conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be identified in the minutes for this meeting. So thank you. Any other questions? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. No business arising from the minutes? Yes. Is that a motion?
Motion to excuse Carrie Penner.
Thank you. Councillor Penner will be excused, seconded by Councillor Siemens. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. All right, then we're just before 7:35. We'll move to the reports and recommendations from the city manager. 8A, the land purchase at 385 Elmdale Street. This is on page 37. Mr. Workentine, I'll ask you to introduce this, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a request for council's consideration for the purchase of property located at 385 Elmdale Street in Steinbach. This is a residential property that is located next to the existing downtown property that currently has the city's arenas and curling rink located on it. There is a long-term program that the City of Steinbach has undertaken for approximately the past 20 years to acquire properties in this area for purposes of long-term development opportunities with respect to recreation facilities. There is a signed offer to purchase that is part of the council information package that has been completed subject to council approval. Recommendation is that council approve the purchase of the subject property for the price of $355,000 with a possession date of March 1st, 2017. I'll just also note that there is an error in the document in the draft resolution that is presented as part of the item. It states in the resolution for a purchase price of $345,000. That's actually an error. It should read $355,000. And as I mentioned, the recommendation is that council approve the purchase.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Workentine, can you just tell us how does this compare to the purchases in general?
Just with respect to this property, I'm bringing up an aerial photo. The subject property is where the arrow is indicated on the sketch, And across the street, across Elmdale Street, the property just to the south, that parcel was purchased in 2013 at comparable pricing, and we feel that this is good value for the city to purchase.
Okay, thank you. And this is the last one in the series, isn't it?
For properties fronting Elmdale Street, yes.
Okay, thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra.
I'll make the motion that we approve the purchase.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Funk. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city for over 20 years now has been purchasing property in the in this area near T.G. Smith Arena, and as has been stated, the reason is so that way we have the land available for future uses, whether that be recreation facility or future parking. But as the city continues to grow, we want to make sure that that we have these options. We've certainly acquired a number of properties in this area, and this would complete that section. So I think it makes sense to proceed.
Thank you. Councillor Funk.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support this this motion, and I'll read just a little piece here out of the motion and the purchase of this totally correlates with the city's official community plan, and I'll quote it. A variety of uses will be encouraged to locate within the CBD. These may include government office, institutional buildings, a major social, cultural, and recreational facilities. So this totally fits in with our plan, and that's why I'll support this.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing? No? Council, this has been something, like Councillor Swagstra has said, has been worked on for many years. And when you look at this line, this two-block line of properties, this is the last remaining property on Elmdale on those 2 blocks that we've been working at. And of course, the last one is sometimes the most difficult one. And we are happy to see that administration has been able to negotiate something that's comparable to other properties that have been purchased. And I think it's very good that this is proceeding, and good work to administration for making this offer to purchase happen. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, we'll now move to the public hearing. 6A, I will close the council meeting, open the public hearing in regards to Conditional Use CU-2016-06. This is in regards to 359 Main Street on page 7 for council members. Mr. Workentine, I'll ask you to introduce this, please.
Yes, for members of council, this is application for conditional use CU-2016-06 for property with civic address of 359 Main Street in Steinbach. Owner of the property is R&H Lepke Holdings Ltd. The applicant for the conditional use is Jennifer Falk, representing Elysian Inc. Purpose of the conditional use application is to allow a tattoo parlor to locate on the subject property. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been sent. There are no registered objections or correspondence on file. With respect to the proposal, it does not appear that there will be any negative impacts on the surrounding commercial properties. Therefore, administration recommendation is for council to approve the conditional use subject to any new information provided at the hearing.
Okay, thank you. So there is a recommendation to approve. Is there anyone here? We do have the applicants here today. Is there anyone here wishing to object to this file? Is there anyone here wishing to object? One more time, anyone wishing to object? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to speak, or would you like to, what would you like to do?
I'm open to questions.
Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none? Then I will leave it to you if you'd like to speak or not, but you don't have to. Okay, thank you. Then I'll close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Siemens?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Penner. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had a lot of applications for different tattoo parlors in a variety of different places in Steinbach, and they're all generally in commercial or zones, so this as well as in a commercial zone. And I think it fits. We've got no, as it indicated here, there seems to be no indication that they'll have a negative impact on the area.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Penner. Anything further from council? Anything in closing?
Only one comment, sir. We've approved a lot of different tattoo parlors. I'm waiting for the day where we approve a tattoo removal parlor.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, 6B, Variation V-2016-11, close the council meeting, open the public hearing in regards to 8 Pioneer Road. This is on page 15. Mr. Workentine, I'll ask you to introduce this, please.
Yes, for members of council, application V-2016-11 at 8 Pioneer Road. The purpose of the owner of the subject property and application for the variance is Manitoba Hydroelectric Board. Purpose of the variance is to permit 2 feet of barbed wire fencing to be placed on top of an existing 6-foot chain link fence, on top of a 6-foot chain link fence for property at the subject location. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been issued. There are no registered objections on file. Having reviewed many compounds in the immediate neighborhood, there appear to be a number that already have the existing barbed wire located on the properties due to previous approvals, and does not appear it would be out of place with respect to the neighborhood, and recommendation from the administration is for council to approve.
Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to represent the applicant, or anyone here? Seeing none. Anyone here wishing to object to this file? Anyone here wishing to object? Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Fair?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Penner. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think this is, I guess one of the questions that I would have is why does this have to come here? I think when you have a commercial property in a commercial zone, I think it should be something that should be an allowed thing.
I think it was barbed wire that was the problem.
Yeah. And that could well be. I just think that, you know, in this day and age, we see more and more security issues and concerns, and so I think it's a good idea to protect the product that you have there. So I actually wouldn't mind seeing that we make that more commonplace in the city. So.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. All right, 6C, Variation V-2016-12. This is in regards to 850 Main Street on page 26. Close the council meeting, open the public hearing. Mr. Workentine, please.
For this application for variance V-2016-12, owner and applicant for the variance is Interbusiness Finance Corporation, or Synex, operating as Synex. Purpose of the variance is to permit a side yard setback of 7.5 feet, whereas the minimum side yard setback required is 15 feet in the agricultural zone. Purpose of the application is that the applicant wishes to build a detached building on the subject property and would prefer to see it line up with existing buildings on the property to allow for future linking of the 2 buildings. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been sent. There is no written correspondence or objections on file. The recommendation from administration is for council to approve the request.
Okay, thank you. We do have the applicant here, or someone representing the applicant here today. Is there anyone here wishing to object or have any questions? Is there anyone here wishing to object or have any questions? Seeing none, does council have any questions for the applicant? Does the applicant wish to speak? Thank you. I'll close the public hearing and open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Fair or Funk?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Fair. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is pretty straightforward. Much of the other buildings on the property have the same or less of a setback. Also, given some of the challenges they have with trucks, they have the challenge that they want to later on make this building connect, and so it needs to line up properly. And the fact that there is agriculture and a church right next to them, I really don't see this will ever affect that neighborhood. So I'm thinking that we should make a motion to approve this and let them go on with their building.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Fair, anything further? Anything further from council? Seeing nothing, call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no delegations today, then we'll move to 8B, 2017 Capital Works Project Engineering. This is on page 45. Mr. Warkentine, do you have anything to add to the information that's been provided?
No, that is all there.
All right, thank you. Wow.
I think it's pretty straightforward. The proposal that is in the councillor's agenda package does represent the proposal for design and engineering work for the city's proposed 2017 Capital Works Program. As the proposed fees for the work of $371,100 exceeds the $250,000 limit for management approval. It's been provided to council for their approval. And I'd recommend that council do so.
Thank you. Councillor Swagstra.
I'll make the motion we approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Siemens. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we've done for a number of years now, where we contract out the engineering work so that we can make sure that of our capital works program, so that when the time comes to tender, that we're able to do so early in the year, because being able to tender early in the year makes it possible to get lower prices. And so by doing this, we get services for design, tender, contract administration, and built drawings. And so we have our capital works program laid out here, and it makes sense to go ahead with this and get the work done.
Thank you. Further discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have the accounts payable in the back of the book. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Funk. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. All right. We have the financial statements ending for August in the back of the book. Can I have a motion to accept, please? Councillor Funk, second by Councillor Swagstra. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. We have zoning bylaw 2065 on page 63. Council. Oh, I'm sorry, building permits.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Councillor Fair moves to approve, accept the building permit report. Second by Councillor Siemens. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. I was getting ahead of myself here. We have 90, the zoning bylaw 2065. This is on page 63. Council, we all had a chance to discuss this last week at length, some of the details that we wanted to see. Before we proceed, are there any questions council has of administration as you've had a chance to review this? Any questions? Then council, Mr. Workington, do you have anything to add? Oh, Councillor Penner, go ahead.
Through you, I was just wondering if any feedback had been given from business community based on what they heard.
I have not heard any feedback from the debate at last meeting, no.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Fair, you have a question?
I have a question to you, Mr. Mayor. Do they get a copy of this before we, I guess that I know they're going to be giving an opportunity. Do they get an opportunity to review this as well, this document as well, before it becomes law?
If council approves first reading, it would be scheduled for a public hearing, and as such, if there are inquiries from the general public that wish to see the proposed changes, a copy would be provided, yes.
Yeah.
That they need to ask.
If there, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor,
First reading.
move first reading by Councillor Fair, second by Councillor Swagstra. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is something that's been on our agenda for a while now, and I think we worked out a good solution, and I guess we're going to give the opportunity to people to respond and see what they think of it as well. So.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Councillor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the key thing to note is that the changes here are designed to make the bylaw more flexible. So that way it makes it simpler for businesses who wish to advertise their services and their products. And so things such as allowing the same size signs on areas like Main Street as other areas, so that way that it's equal in that regard, making it more flexible and more clearly defined about the nonprofit organizations and charities who wish to put up signs on a temporary basis. So simplifying that and making it easier for them. And just making it clear about the number of signs that are permitted, and adding a few definitions as well. So I think these are some good improvements, and we do have a public hearing yet, and so there are still opportunities that if people and businesses wish to provide feedback, there still can be changes made at a public hearing based on the feedback we get, but I think this is certainly an improvement from what we had before.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing? No? Call for the question. All those in favor of first reading? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Workentine, when will this be on the agenda next?
That will be, public hearing will be October the 18th.
Thank you. (9E), the municipal board appointments on page 79. These are, there is a municipal board hearing coming up, and you have a resolution on the bottom of page 80. Can I have Councillor Penner, you move that motion? Thank you. Second by Councillor Swagstra. Any discussion? Anything further from council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have minor subdivisions. There's a motion on the bottom of 81. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Siemens moves to approve. Second by Councillor Fair. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Any questions of council? There are a lot of open doors. There's a lot of open houses. There's a lot of ribbon cuttings. There's a lot of things going on in the next couple of months. So if you can all attend, that would be great. You should. It's good to see all these businesses expanding and growing here in our community. That wasn't a question. Are you going? I'll leave that to you for you to decide. 11A, we have the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. This is in regards to the Canada 150 celebrations. I don't know if council chooses to act on this. This might just be taken as information. Any questions? Take it as information. 11B, we have a letter from Mr. Ray Koop, who had been in front of council previously. This is on page 83 to 85. Mr. Workentine, there's a fair amount in here. In the end, I'll summarize it, and then you can tell me if I'm understanding. But basically, there's a requirement in the development agreement that Mr. Koop needs to, in order to proceed with his variation, he needs to have a drainage plan created for his immediate area. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't a development agreement, but it was a condition of the variance approval.
Right.
But it was specific to the application, and the requirement for the drainage plan that's there is represented by the overall drainage plan, drainage policy that the City of Steinbach has that applies to the city overall.
Okay. Has there ever been a situation where we've done a conditional use or a situation like this that we've actually allowed without having a drainage plan?
Not to my knowledge. The policy that has been in place has been there for many years. I can't recall how many, but I guess 15 to 20. And it does apply to all residential and commercial properties that get developed within the city.
So obviously we can sympathize with the frustration of having to spend between $2,000 and $3,000 for something that'll cost a little bit more than that, but not a lot more for him. Is there any other way that we can get around this, that we can still solve the issue that we would need to solve, or is this just the reality?
Well, I guess I can say that I can sympathize that there would be challenges in some of the older areas of Steinbach that were developed decades ago, and at that time there wasn't the onus placed on developers as there is today. But as council is also aware, it's some of these older areas of the city that when it comes to surface drainage and water from one neighbor's property spilling over onto another. That tends to be where it frequently occurs. And as properties do get redeveloped, especially in these older neighborhoods of Steinbach, the overall elevation and drainage policies that are in place are there to try and, the best attempts to try and deal with it and alleviate the problem so that that at least in the future that these problems will be alleviated or hopefully eliminated.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Funk, please?
More of a comment through you. I know this is a hard pill for him to swallow. You know, it's quite a cost, and you look at it, he's the only lot right now on that street that's going to have a development plan. But the problem with that is probably the highest amount of concerns that are brought forward to me are drainage issues, especially in the older areas. And if we can clean these up one by one by one by one, I know it's piecemeal and it's not effective as you start, but as you get going into it, it gets better and better and better. And I know that if we start to waive them and we don't allow this and we go away from our policy, we're going to have 40 years down the road, we're going to have a council here having this same decision to make. And you know, as much as it's hard, it's a bad pill, it's a hard pill to swallow, as much as I feel for this gentleman and his family and the fact that they've got to put this money out, I know for the betterment of the community down the road, it will be better. And yeah, they get along great with their neighbors now, but neighbors don't always stay put. They move, and all of a sudden you have neighbors that don't want your water on my yard anymore, and they build up, and then all it does is, as Councillor Fair knows, with the Conservation District, the water that we don't take care of here becomes someone else's problem. And that's why we have these development plans. That's why we do this. And as hard as it is to say no, as much as I want to help, we have to stick to our policy. And I just encourage Council to do that today.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Fair?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I concur with Councillor Funk's comments here. Having been on the Conservation District for a few years now, and seeing the effects of the water when you develop something and the effects that it has in other areas of the city and other areas of the country, it's significant. And the other thing I want to point out too is when you get an engineered company to design something for you and you build it according to specs, you're actually taking the responsibility off of your shoulders and putting on the engineering companies. I had such a case once where I was a little bit annoyed that I had to hire an engineer, and at the end of the day, the contractor did it wrong, and I got it redone correctly because I had the engineer. And I think there's a positive spin to that as well. So it's not all negative, but I agree that there's the effects of developing. There's a lot of side effects to that. So I agree that I think we have to stick to our guns. As much as I'd like to sympathize here and say, well, you know, let them off the hook, but I think we need to stick with our guns here on this.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? All right. Any action wishing to be taken by council? All right. Mr. Orkney, I'll ask you then to communicate with Mr. Koop, letting him know that council did speak about it and that the policy stands. Thank you. There's no other business for council. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Penner. Any discussion? Can't allow it anyway. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried.